how do we play catch up with social justice, with the social justice B definition, since the church has not done enough to promote social justice A?
I would be careful just in the framing of the question to think about how much have we imbibed a narrative that says Christians have been on the wrong side of history. Christians don't care about the poor. Christians are conservatives. Christians, by and large, tend to be conservative and Republicans just care about greed. They just care about corporations. They don't really care about the little guy. That's the story we're told. And I'm sure there's maybe some kernels of truth in it. But when I was researching for the book, Confronting Injustice, let me just throw a few numbers your way. Number one, 58% of U.S. adults provided food to a poor person or family. So 58% of just an average American, compared with 75% of practicing Christians. So 3 out of 4 practicing Christians in America versus 58%. 72% of Christians directly donated resources such as clothing, furniture to the poor, compared with just 64% of non-Christians. So 72 compared to 64. 62% of Christians spent a significant amount of time praying for poor people versus 33% beyond the church. 47% of Christians gave their personal time to serve the needy. So almost half, compared with just 29% of non-Christians, and nearly twice as many Christians volunteered to an organization to serve the poor in other countries and traveled outside the U.S. to help the disadvantaged. And so again, I'm just getting at the premise of the question, which is Christians haven't been doing social justice A, and so that's why so many people are turning to social justice B. I think there's a lot of spin, a lot of media spin that we bought into there. Just one more quick study from a non-religious research group looked at a dozen faith communities around Philadelphia. They looked at 10 Protestant churches, 1 Catholic parish, 1 Jewish synagogue, and they found that they used a 54-point metric to determine the kind of economic impact these religious congregations had on the surrounding communities. The results were astounding. 12 congregations in Philadelphia brought $50,577,098 of economic benefits to their neighborhoods in a single year, just through charity and loving the community and education programs and things like that. And so there's this popular narrative that just irks me every time I hear it. Christians have been, completely naive to injustice. They don't really care. All they care about is their own personal peace and affluence. They don't give a rip about the poor. Statistically, that's exactly backwards for understandable reasons. If you believe your calling as an individual and as a church community is to love the poor and disadvantaged, you're going to step up to that call. If you don't believe that, then who's the next biggest entity you can imagine? Well, it's got to be the government. So now this shapes our conversation so that it's only the people who rally behind big government solutions. It's only people who rally behind massive redistributive policies. They're on the side of the poor and the oppressed. But if you're on the side of individual economic freedom so you can do it yourself, then clearly you're some kind of misanthrope, you're some kind of enemy of humanity who doesn't really give a rip about the poor. So again, I'm questioning the premise of the question itself. I think there is a whole lot of social justice A happening. We just aren't allowed to hear about it, or we're conditioned to think that doesn't really count as social justice because it doesn't resort to government to fix the problems. Not to say the church couldn't do better, by the way.
Every voice.